Hey, good day, Internet. I had to rent a U-Haul motorcycle trailer and live with it for 3 or 4 days and haul a couple bikes back. So I learned a few things, and here we go. There's about 18 items I can think of. So here we go. Come prepared. Number one, bring some grease for the ball because unless you got grease on your ball, I don't want to get too personal, but they just slap it on, everything's dry as a bone. So it needs a bit of lubrication, some grease on that ball and hitch that goes on there. Bring some tie-down straps. I mean, if you're hauling bikes, of course, but I brought some, and fortunately they were all tied up in that plastic wrap, and I couldn't get the bloody things undone. And yeah, so I needed those for the tailgate, which was flapping around. So that was a bit of a misstep, but bring tie straps, of course. I'd recommend a couple other items, some gloves, because it's got sharp corners on it. You don't want to rip your hands apart, and some plastic pull ties, an adjustable wrench, and some vice grips. And I'll mention what you do with those later, because there's, at least in my case, there's definitely a problem with the chain. It was like a couple of yards too much chain. It was ridiculous, but fixed it up. Number 4, this is obvious when you rent anything, plan your pickup. I was unpleasantly surprised that I was in the last weekend of the month, and it seemed like about 2 weeks away from the end of the month, but it was actually a week and a half, so there was a big lineup when I got there right at 9, so I should have got there at like 8:45, stood at the door, wasted a good half hour just waiting. Also, when you're doing the rental, check if your credit card covers or your car insurance or whatever covers the U-Haul. I know they do usually for vans and rentals like that, and car rentals, but U-Haul's got a pretty nice trick there. They value their regular cargo van, this is just a van, at $85,000 US replacement. So if that thing got stolen or destroyed, it says it will put that on your credit card. Good luck on that one, but that's ridiculous price. But I don't know what the trailer was, but I'm sure it's overvalued too, because the thing is custom made for U-Haul, and it's all galvanized steel by the looks of it. Okay, the next area is your vehicle. Check your manual for towing, specifically if they recommend turning your overdrive off. A buddy of mine was warning me about that, but I don't have an overdrive off on my car, so I guess I was safe. Who knows? But you don't want to blow your transmission, especially on a long trip. I was 700 miles return, so I was a little concerned about that one, but the trip back was a lot easier, and I'll get to that too. Also, when you're taking it for a fairly long trip, consider the horrible fuel economy. You see on my trip there, I mentioned I got instantly 30% less gas mileage, like a full third less. It was unbelievable. I thought the wheel bearing was gone in the trailer. Got out and stopped and did a heat feel, and no, they were fine. Just the thing weighs 870 pounds, and it's a monster. So if you're going for a long distance, and plan your fuel stops accordingly, and maybe your budget, because it was expensive to put all that fuel in there for my trip. Get your vehicle tow ready. This is a lot of force to pull that thing, so I would. Luckily, mine just had all the service. I wasn't even thinking about it, but I definitely check the oil and all the fluid coolant levels and all that. And so especially your brakes are good, and your coolant, transmission. If you need any kind of service, just get it done before hooking that beast up to the back. You'll be happy. You'll be glad you did. Yeah, don't use cruise control while you're towing this monster. I didn't go over too much hilly ground, but it got pretty jerky, and the engine was going crazy when I had the cruise on, because it was just such a weight to pull. So I'd turn that off and just go manual. And here's some tips for the trailer itself. Definitely get a bike trailer. It was designed for the bikes. I was a little debating there, because it was only 4 feet wide and 9 long. But the other regular utility trailer was 5 feet wide, so I figured I'd get extra foot. But I'm sure glad that I picked the bike trailer because of the low ramp height and the big long ramp that goes down. I was able to put both bikes on there, no problem at all, by myself. So if you got anything like that and nobody at the other end to help you, or possibly definitely go with the bike trailer. It's nice and low slung, and like I said, the ramp is perfect for bikes. It's well designed, I gotta say that. Just to remind you, keep in mind this thing is heavy. It says 870 pounds empty on it, and the ride is absolutely terrible when it's empty. It's noisy. Well, I had the tailgate problem. It wasn't clamped up, but it was noisy as heck. So I would even recommend, you could throw in 100 pounds of scrap that you'd throw away at the other end, or something you want to take to the other end, who knows, but 100 pounds won't make any difference to the gas mileage, that's for sure, because on my return trip I got the same gas mileage fully loaded. So I'd throw in some kind of, so it rides better, and that'll definitely help. Standard stuff here. This is a trailer. They don't seem to give a rat's ass about damage, but there was a big wonky on the fender, and the guy didn't even care about it, so I said, I'm taking pictures of everything, and you're going to be in the photo. And I said, okay. So they don't do the walk around like they usually do with the vans and the cars, so just bring your phone and make sure you got you're charged up, and take some pictures of any damage, or just take a picture of the bloody trailer so you prove you got what you got. Because they, again, this is UHaul and the corporation, they screwed up my paperwork royally. When I came back, they couldn't find it didn't match the trailer I took, and blah, blah, blah. But that worked out good for me, because I think I had it for 4 days and they charged me for 1. So thanks, UHaul, and your screw-ups. Appreciate it. But it could just work. Could have been working the opposite way for you. So just watch, keep an eye on them, watch them. They'll make a mistake and it won't be in your favor, it won't be good. When you're there getting your trailer, I suggest you select the one that has the biggest tires, because I saw a couple. These are all bike trailers. I had a slew of them, but some had little weenie tires on them, some had decent tires, and one had a tire that was completely shredded. It just blew right apart. So I checked the tires to see if there's any obvious signs on them, because it doesn't look like they're checking them. And yeah, you don't want that happening to you on the highway, so be cautious, and you got to do the due diligence on that. It looks like, for a figure, there's about a 900 pound carry weight on those trailers. So I thought I definitely was under that. And there we get around to the chains. Double check how they hooked them up. Mine were, they were just disgustingly long. They were just looped over themselves a couple times, so I had to undo the little adjustable link, and that's why I took the vice grips and the adjustable wrench, and then cinched up on choked up on the chain, and then there was so much left over, had to wrap it around the hitch, and I wish I had some pull ties. Next time I'll bring some pull ties, but that would have been good. Yeah, the electrical connector to the brakes lights and all that, it's nice and long, so what I did was just pull it ahead and put it inside my trunk, and connected my connector inside my trunk, and then of course you can lock it, and you put the pressure on their line instead of yours. And another little bonus there is a little theft deterrent, because somebody tries to steal the whole trailer and drive away with it. They're going to have to hook up the lights in some other way. They're going to have to cut the wire, and who knows what they're going to have to do, if anything. So a little theft deterrent. And keeps it out of the rain. And just to note, the backup ramp there, it's nice to have, but it's pretty heavy, so I would not get in the way of that sucker. I would just let it drop and hit the ground, and not worry about it, but just be prepared. The thing's heavy as hell. And there you go. On the road, I noticed this trailer's pretty hard to lock up. There's no conventional hole in the ball mount for a padlock like you usually get, and there's just nothing. There's nothing in the hitch, and really there's a little opening in the on the tow bar assembly, and But anyway, you don't bring a padlock thinking you're just going to put it into the hitch lock, because there isn't one. It's pretty weird. So what I did was just put the trailer ramp down, and I put a lock through it, so you couldn't put the trailer ramp back up. So thinking, yeah, it'd be pretty hard to drive away with a trailer ramp down. Then you could also loop a chain through the openings in the rims and put it through to something solid. So just you might want to take a look around a U-Haul dealer before you go, and figure out the way you're going to lock this thing, especially if you're going to leave it overnight somewhere. And that's the next one, is if you're leaving it overnight, bring a tarp with you so you can completely cover it out. So out of sight, out of mind, kind of camouflaged. Couple bungee cords, doesn't have to be wind airtight, because you're just trying to get it out of sight, and you're going to take that off during the trip, because it takes a lot of, you usually don't get a tarp put on that stays on and doesn't get ripped to shreds unless you do a super job, and there's no need for it with hauling a bike or two. Just take a note that it's going to take you much longer to stop, and because you get that weight behind you. And then make sure everything's tied down in the trailer and not bouncing around. And just leave a lot of extra braking room for the cars ahead and yourself. My last one is kind of an oddball, but I only have one way I know how to back up a trailer, and it's called Jackknife. I've just not been able to master that skill. I just don't get it. So what I do most of the time is just unhook the bloody thing and move it around by hand. A little harder to do when it's got bikes in it, of course, but empty, no problem. Especially if you have a helper. So if you're, if you don't deal with trailers on a regular basis and it's tough to back up, don't sweat it. Just what I do at my place is just pull in straight and unhook the trailer and move it aside and move it around to where you want. So there you go, a bundle of tricks and tips. Hope that helps you out with your U-Haul trailer rental. Overall, pretty good experience with the thing. It did what it was supposed to do. Definitely carries motorcycles well, and the ramp is excellent. It would have been a lot more challenging getting those bikes on with the other trailer, and basically no ramp and much higher lift height. So glad I went with the motorcycle trailer. All in all, pretty good deal.